Howdy, folks. Welcome back to VIVA LA CATS. I'm your host, Justin Hiles, accompanied by my great friend, Steve Maurer. And as always, this is a 10-12 network podcast. Always happy to bring you great coverage from every side of the conference. There's everything from BYU to Cincinnati to any team that you want to look at. This week, we have our very own friends over here from the Hype Train Pod, Trevor Leavitt, on the show. Thank you for joining us. And we're going to go ahead and just kind of break down this week's game. It will be the big noon kickoff slate for the Bearcats this week, starting at, I guess, 8 a.m. Eastern, and then the game starts at 8 p.m. Eastern.
10 a.m. Eastern.
Is it 10 a.m. Eastern?
Yeah.
Man,
yeah.
My central time clock's all screwed up. Well, okay. I thought it was earlier. Anyways, we have a lot to get through today's show. So, Trevor, without further ado, please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about Hype Train Pod and what it is.
Sure. Yeah. No. Well, first of all, appreciate having you guys having you guys have me on. I'm Trevor Leavitt. I'm one of I'd say 3 to 4 guys on the Hype Train podcast. There's me, Hunter, Joe. We're kind of the main stays, and then Chandler Miller comes on periodically as kind of a relief, if you will, if one of us isn't able to make it. He's a great reliever. He closes great. So, but. Yeah, been a part of the Hype Train podcast now for 5 years. This is our 5th season. Started back in COVID in 2020, and it's been awesome. It's been especially fun to leave Independence and join this Big 12 conference. I ran track while I was at BYU. I was a 400 and 200 meter sprinter, so that was a good time. And just I've always loved BYU athletics, but being able to go and contribute there myself from an athletic standpoint did not help with my obsession with the Cougs. So just happy to be here.
Happy to have you on, man. We were only staffers on the football team. Well, and then Justin worked a little bit with the basketball team too. So we were just on the sidelines. You were actually like a part of action. So, you already know more ball than we do. So we're here to listen to you. So welcome. Yeah, we're happy to have you. I was going to say, like, the last couple of years, man, as you mentioned, your love for the Cougs, it's a great time to be a BYU fan right now. Basketball's rocking. We got women's soccer rocking. Volleyball's been like a lot of different sports, especially football, have been great over the past 2 years. What's it like in the Cougar fan base right now?
Yeah, I think it all starts at the top, just with BYU's had a lot of success finding the right coach to lead, those specific teams, like to take it even further, like the cross country team, especially the women's cross country team with Georgie Taylor has been dominant at Istone. With track, I obviously have a little bias, but I think he's one of the greatest coaches that track has to offer right now. And when you throw in obviously like Kevin Young and Kalani Sitake and, all these other, wonderful personalities that not only love the sports that they coach, but also I think where BYU is finding the most success is that they love BYU. You look at really any team around the country that has success, and it's typically driven from a coach that has longevity there, understands kind of like the mission of both the athletic program and the school, and is able to coach consistently. Like recruits can come in understanding that, they're going to have this guy or this girl or whoever it is for their whole time there. And it just creates a really solid culture. So it's been fun to see that culture cultivated, specifically in this case between Kalani and Kevin Young. And I feel spoiled. We knew that obviously coming to the Big 12 would be a positive thing. I've always loved watching the Big 12 conference, and it's kind of original teams, if you will. But to be a part of it now, it's been a good time.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I think Cincinnati fans can say a lot of the same. Coming up from the American, of course, a lot different than having an independent slate, but coming up from the AAC, it was a huge step up for the Bearcats in just level of competition all across the board. And again, it gives you consistency. We kind of, joked about this before the show with you, but, having teams that actually, care, with fan bases that are very present online, that you can interact with and talk to, and that travel well too, I think is another huge thing. Of course, I think we'll talk about this a little bit today with BYU, another fan base that does travel very well. It's just one of those things that I think this conference really has, lifted everybody up in this period of uncertainty, I think, across the nation of where is college athletics going and what are we doing right now and where are we going to end up. But as Steve said, I think for BYU, Cincinnati for the past 8 weeks until the past 3, it was going really well. And then, things kind of got off the rails for us a little bit as far as football goes. So this season, I think, has definitely, thrown a lot of things our way. And for BYU, they've certainly had a lot of challenges. And I guess one of the things that I kind of want to start off the show with and just ask, like, BYU's at 9-1 in football right now. Of course, they are right there, lockstep, completely in control of their own destiny. Of course, the Bearcats were before the Utah game. They still were even after it. And now, of course, we're back a little bit on the totem pole. So I'm curious, when you look at this game and what you can get out of this, how do you feel really about BYU's chances this week? And how do you feel about Cincinnati from what you've seen thus far?
Yeah, no, I think right off the bat, when I look at Cincinnati, I watched several of your games. Cincinnati, I've actually been a huge fan of for a while. Like Sauce Gardner, like who doesn't love Sauce Gardner? And obviously those teams, I was cheering for them just so unbelievably hard to beat Georgia. But but when you watch Cincinnati, especially this season, a couple of things jumped out. Obviously, Brendan Sorsby is an incredibly talented quarterback. Honestly, probably tops in the Big 12. Just incredible arm talent. He's a gifted runner. That's kind of like last week, BYU saw a little bit of like Josh Hoover. Josh Hoover kind of had that arm talent, and Brendan Sorsby combines that with a like talented athletic like running ability. He's kind of one of the first ones that's like, man, like if BYU is gonna, walk out of this game with a win, like we need to be able to contain him. I felt like Utah did a pretty good job of that, forcing him into, certain throws or, making him have to make decisions while under pressure. That's kind of one of the first things that I thought of. The other is I was looking at y'all's kind of running backs, and it looks like it's almost like a little 3-headed monster. You've got Sorsby in there, Walker, Evan Pryor is another guy. And I think between Walker and Pryor, they were both averaging like over 6 yards a carry. So this is a team that can get going downhill really fast. And so it's really just kind of messing with that groove. I think that I feel like BYU, like Jay Hill, the defensive coordinator for BYU, is very much a proponent of chaos, like creating chaos, putting people in awkward situations, making them make plays, these different things. And so how do I feel about our chances this weekend? Like I feel like after the Texas Tech game, it was like it felt like the wheels fell off, right? BYU couldn't do anything. Bear Bachmeier had been awesome up to that point, and then he couldn't do anything that game. But then they really righted the ship with TCU and did a lot of things against the TCU defense, who I felt is very underrated. That gives me confidence to believe that this team's kind of back on track, or at least has, didn't lose their mojo after the Texas Tech game. It's still Cincinnati. It's still a talented quarterback, and it's still on the road at Nippert at night, which I've heard plenty of good things about. Bad thing if for my team that's going there, obviously, but I certainly think they have a chance. Bear Bachmeier has been great about taking care of the football. Cincinnati's defense, from what I gathered, hasn't forced a ton of turnovers. And so that combination helps me think that BYU might be able to stay on the field and get some points. But again, like just like any Big 12 team, like if you don't show up, they're going to steamroll you. So it's going to be a great game Saturday.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Just real quick, Justin, I want to make sure, are you going to be rooting for the Cougs this weekend, or are you going to be rooting for the Trevor, just for the backstory? Justin's been his second team is basically BYU now. So like I don't know if it was like our trip there, but ever since basically like our man here has just been like all over BYU. Probably maybe a little bit less than like you guys and the most ardent BYU fans, but our man here loves some Cougs.
I will tell you this this half of the show at least has been a very strong proponent of the Cougs for a good 3 seasons on. It's been fun, and like I think again, as somebody who has watched a lot of the games really closely, I felt like for a long time, it's like, okay, the Bearcats have performed generally really well coming out of the playoff, but then it's kind of a little bit of slump. And like, you kind of need a second team in college football. If your season's just not going well, a 3-9 and a 5-7 season will do that to you. Having another team to just watch really closely, I think is nice. But again, after our trip last year, in 2023, it was just a really, really fun time. And we just enjoyed the entire atmosphere that Provo had to offer. The location's great. The stadium's great. The actual game day experience is fantastic there. Just really top notch. One of the best in the country. And so, for me, I was kind of like, this just feels like a match made that has to happen. Like I feel like I have to kind of cheer him on. So
hey, we'll take anyone. So
yeah. And so in the meantime, like, it's just been really nice to watch. But I think one of the other things that is kind of interesting now is seeing where this team has gotten to at this point. They basically took the exact same narrative from last season and pulled it to this season too, which is like, people are finding ways to count us out. Last season, nobody was really expecting BYU to pop off, and they did an incredible job. And then this year, once Retzloff left the team, it was kind of like, all right, see you, BYU. I mean, you're just a quarterback. You're not anything else. Like, you were a great quarterback, and that was the story of 2024. He's not there for 2025. That's game over. And clearly, this has been so different. And so this actually, I think, brings up a great question: is Retzloff, of course, gone? You're looking around trying to figure out who's going to be the guy, and they put in a true freshman in Bear Bachmeier, and just has played it really, really well. I guess our question is, how real is Bear Bachmeier? Like, is he like a legit, like, future Heisman contender? I think he might be kind of out of the race this year, of course, with everything else going on. But like, is this a guy that you think could legitimately contend for that? And how has he kind of improved throughout the season?
Yeah, no, boy, Heisman contender feels like a big jump. Not that he couldn't necessarily get there. I just, man, you kind of start building that narrative, and it just never seems to pan out, right? So I don't know about that. The thing that's made Bear special actually was the second part, the second half of that question, which is, how is he improving every week? I think he came in initially with just kind of this innate sense of like, I'm not going to put the ball in harm's way. He's had obviously some turnover worthy plays that they track statistically and whatnot, but for the most part, the ball is not being thrown into places where you're gripping the edge of your seat as a fan, wondering who's coming down with that football, which I don't mean for this to be a dig, because he had an incredible season and helped us win a lot of games. But like Jake Retzloff, a lot of the time last season when he dropped back, it really was like, I held my breath because I wasn't sure. Like I knew it'd be completed. I just didn't know which team it'd be completed to. And so like Aaron Roderick has done such a good job of just, you've got a young guy. Aaron Roderick's got kind of this, I wouldn't say overtly complicated system, but it can be a lot for, I would imagine, anybody coming out of high school who has, fall camp, not even like spring ball to figure it out. But just understood, okay, this kid's not going to turn the ball over. We've got the guys around him. We've got receivers like Chase Roberts and Parker Kingston. We've got a running back in LJ Martin, where if you can just get these guys the ball and not turn it over, we should be okay. And that formula's worked. But what's been probably the best surprise is every single week, the decision-making, the confidence, the throws, his ability to decipher when to tuck it and run versus, hang in the pocket and make a strike downfield. That's improved every single week. Last week, especially against TCU, I thought that there was one play that, 3 weeks prior, Bear would have probably tried to throw a ball into Chase Roberts on kind of a little bit of a dig route. It might have been there, it might not have been, but he had 10 yards of open grass in front of him, and he just decided to tuck it and run it. And it's just his ability to kind of learn from his previous mistakes and step up. And he's just so calm under pressure, I think has allowed BYU to win even when there's games where they're down double digits. The fact that he's able to do all that he's doing and keep kind of this like stoic, like stone face look to him, I think has been the most impressive part. Because college football will get to you, man, and it just hasn't seemed to phase him yet, and that's it's a rare trait.
So, speaking of like not getting to you, obviously, like I think the unique thing about college football that's different from high school or the pros is that just that road atmosphere, and how going different places, especially, like I don't consider Bear really like he is a true freshman just in the sense, but you're right. He has improved all year, and he definitely has better decision making than you would expect from an average true freshman starting quarterback. But I think that thing that's interesting to me is that in all of BYU's conference games, road conference games this year, seems like there's been at least a little bit of adversity in each one. Arizona double overtime, obviously great comeback by Bear and the team to be able to come back from 10 points down, 5 minutes to go. Iowa State needing the down in the third quarter, but being able to come back and win that game, and obviously Texas Tech just being a tough game. So is that kind of a consideration at all for this Saturday? Just seeing those different moments. I do think that BYU is probably a better team, but it does seem that in some of those similar spots, just being on the road, that they've had some moments where they've had to push through it, or as I've seen some BYU fans say, not really, get the style points, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and I'll add another one. I mean, they were down 14-0 against Colorado in their first away. And so that to me is going to be the big tell, I think, in this game. The Arizona game, I felt like BYU had gotten out to a great start. They went up 14-0, and honestly, it had kind of all the feels of a rout. And then it went into about an hour and a half rain delay, and just kind of seemed like everything just kind of went a little wonky from there. And then Texas Tech is just, the Red Raiders have been, wrecking everyone they played. So I don't, I'll throw that one out the window. But the thing for me is, you nailed it, is against TCU, like they jumped out to like a 24-3 lead. And that was the first like significantly noticeable like fast start that this team has had. And I think in a game like this one on Saturday against the Cincinnati team, who when they get hot, they get hot. You can't hand all the cards over. You can't hand all the chips over right away, or else you're going to get beat. And so I think that's something that like Kalani and the team are aware of. But it's one of those things where you can only play with fire for so long until it finally burns you. And that's, for me, it's felt like the season has broken into like 3 segments. Like there was like the first 4 games, and then the middle 4, and then the last 4. For BYU to show me that they're truly building and they're different than what they were last season, where they lost to Kansas and then they dropped the game against Arizona State. For me, the measuring stick of that is how quickly can they get out in this game against Cincinnati.
It's a very good point. I mean, I think that's another thing too, for, when you're just talking about for BYU's sake. I think for Cincinnati's spin side too is this going to be a game where they actually can put their foot down in the beginning? Because for Cincinnati, most of the season, we've had to score a lot of our points in the first half. And if it hasn't happened in the first half, it's been, gut punches in the second. And I think especially we saw that on the road against Utah, which was a just heck of an environment. And then again, even against Arizona, they were just kind of sluggish. They didn't really put their foot down and score some points where they needed to. Some unfortunate turnovers really let that game get out of hand. And, of course, those were the difference. And I think for BYU's sake, you really have to look at, the turnover margin. And I think that's one thing that they've done a really good job of, is just managing to kind of win in the margins. And for the Bearcats, unfortunately, they just have not been quite the defensive prowess that they were in the past. We have a lot of gripes right now with the defensive side of the ball. And I think that is going to be a real telltale sign for how this game goes this week. But one thing that we wanted to kind of ask too is like, so we've kind of heard like your side of, kind of what you think of Cincinnati. We're curious, like, what do you think the general BYU like sense of the fan base for Cincinnati is, like, as a collective?
I mean, I think this is a game that has a lot of fans nervous. It's fitting. It's the same week, week 11 that the Arizona State game was last year, right? And as fun of a game as that was, didn't end BYU's way, and it ultimately knocked them out of the conference championship game after starting 9-0. And you're still looking at a great season, right? But it's not what it could have been, right? So that you've fast forward a year, and it's Groundhog Day apparently, because here we are playing a team with a talented quarterback, right, on the road, conference championship game, title, hopes on the line. And it's now like, how different is this team from last year's? And I think with a lot of BYU fans, especially myself, like I get nervous for every game, but this one especially, where Cincinnati has, I think, far outperformed like expectations going into the season. Big fan of Dante Corleone, by the way. Like he's fantastic. Like you guys have some dogs, and I think any fan of any team, but especially BYU, since we're playing you this week, like any fan with eyeballs knows that this Cincinnati team has talent and can beat anybody on any given Saturday. And obviously they're reeling right now, which makes them dangerous because they're trying to right the ship. And so it's I think the nerves and the blood will be pumping come kickoff time.
Yep. A little bit earlier for the folks that are located either in Utah or in the Mountain Time Zone, 6:00 kick, but for us, 8:00 kick here on the Eastern Time Zone. So in the game itself, BYU is currently favored by 2.5 points, total of 54.5. And SP Plus, our favorite model or metrics, loves BYU, and rightfully so, but currently has BYU as a 4-point favorite. So, Trevor, if I had to ask you, and I guess I don't have to, but I'm going to ask you, how do you see this game turning out? You don't have to give a score prediction if you don't want to, but we're always just curious.
I mean, listen, like, am I gonna, like, when I hop on my podcast here in an hour, am I gonna predict BYU winning? Yes, I am. Of
course.
Yeah. I think the
True homer.
I think that yeah, like, I mean, sue me, right? But I think the defense is back healthy. I think a lot of the struggles that they had kind of in the middle of the season with a lot of the yards that they were giving up, the linebacking room just was ransacked with injuries, like rotating door of, Jack Kelly's out, Isaiah Glasker's out, Sarah's out, and they're all back. You get your starting safeties back. And I think the thing for me that I feel like gives BYU the edge in this game is the defensive line has finally kind of figured out and been everything that we'd hoped they would be at the beginning of the season. They've already surpassed their sack total from last year. And they've just seemed, we talked about Bear Bachmeier getting better every week. The defensive line, it feels like, has been getting better every week against pretty formidable offensive lines. So I do think BYU wins. I in no way expect any sort of because I know people like to do Team A beat Team B by X amount, and then Team B beat Team C by X amount. Therefore, Team A beats Team C by whatever. I'm not looking at the Utah game and going, oh, we're gonna kill these guys, because that's just not really how football works. Especially when you take into account, you mentioned, Steve, the environment and everything surrounding this game. But I think the defense finds a way to create that chaos that I was kind of talking about earlier, and the offense does what it typically does, which is take care of the football. And I think it's going to be close, but I think BYU finds a way to eke it out.
It's that's a very sound take. I'll say that much, because I think from, at least from my perspective, Steve's going to say that I'm not the homer this week. Steve, last week, because we played Arizona, he is married into the Arizona family. He is a fan of Bear Down. However, I think from my perspective, when I look at this week too, I want to take the edge and say that Cincinnati, you lose again on the road in Utah. I feel like I just have to keep saying that, and I'm sick of it. But lose on the road in Utah, big time. You have the bye week, and then you don't come out of the bye week very well, and then you lose at home to Arizona in a. I think Steve had pulled this. We found this somewhere. It was the first time that Cincinnati had lost to an unranked opponent in how long? As
Since
a ranked
2011
team?
at home,
Yeah.
lost as a ranked team lost to an unranked team. So I was at a local place getting some post game, getting like a post game meal, and it was just on ESPN on the bottom ticker. I was like, oh, great!
Yeah, that's
makes me feel even better. It's wonderful.
Just kick you while you're down. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. So,
but again, like I think with that, kind of said, I want to say that they're going to be angry enough about how the past few weeks have gone and kind of rewrite the script a little bit this week. But Steve, I mean, this is going to be maybe the first time I've done this all year. Yeah, it pains me to say it, but give me the Bearcats. The Bearcats are still going to win.
I like that. I applaud that. I really do.
Yeah, gotta flip the script a little bit. No, I think the Bearcats. I think they have a legitimate shot. I think they're tired of hearing, you know what, the season's over now because you didn't do what you needed to do the last 2 games in order to get there, to get to Arlington. Of course, that was everybody's goal. That was the team's goal. They actually said that. They made that clear that they were looking at that. I think they still have more to prove. And again, I think this is going to be, I'm hoping that this is a just very good game that comes down to a game-winning play. I just hope that one is in the Bearcats' favor this week. So I'll take the Bearcats.
Yeah, and I do think that UC will keep it close. I'm honestly kind of surprised that BYU is not favored by more, just because of the strength of the teams coming in and the fact that it seems that there's a clear threshold for the teams that Cincinnati plays, and that we are unfortunately not as competitive with the better teams as we are with the teams that are kind of below that line. And I have kind of a stat breakdown, but I looked at the past 2 years where the Cincinnati's been more competitive. And when we play teams that are top 40 in SP plus, Cincinnati is a combined 1-7 against teams that are top 40 in SP plus, with an average score of 29-18. So almost a two score game. And I think that for Cincinnati and for the fans here, there's definitely should be an appreciation of where you were last year to where you are now. And I think you can show that in this game, that you've improved, that you've gotten better, especially being at home. I think some of those road trips were just going to be tough in general. And I think the most, if not all, the fan base looked at both November, really, but Utah and BYU as 2 really tough games. And I think Cincinnati can show that, but I'm just not really sure I can see a Scott Satterfield-led Bearcats team really pulling out the win. Like I wanted it on my heart. Like, I'm going to be a homer and say I want the Bearcats to win, obviously, but I just, like, from that data point and knowing what I've seen when this team goes against teams with great man defense, as well as teams who are able to run the ball on Cincinnati, and as well as make great plays and are able to continue to extend drives. It's just going to be hard for me to really see a world where Cincinnati pulls off the win. And I also don't I don't know. I want 2 Big 12 teams in the playoffs. So if I have to sacrifice a Bearcats loss to get BYU into the college football playoff
instead of Utah, yes.
Well, I mean, I'll take 3, Justin. I'm not trying to be greedy, but
that's fair.
No, it would. I think, it can still be a great season, and if you play a great game and lose against BYU, that should still show you that you've been improving and gotten better. But it's just hard for me to see it.
Yeah, it's kind of the unfortunate reality that we're facing at this point in the season. It's for Cincinnati fans of the past few seasons, you get to the end game. We're in the latter stage. You said if there's a first, second, and third act, by the third act, you're ready to go home. Like, you're just kind of like, I can feel it falling apart. Yes, the gales in November, they come early. Unfortunately. Edmund Fitzgerald respecters here. I have a question for you, and this is going to be my last question for you, at least for today.
Sure.
So it's kind of two-parter. First, have you tried the blueberry cougar tail, and how is it?
I did. Here's the thing. I need to preface this. I'm a big fan of like the double blueberry donut. Utah. I don't know if it's just a Utah thing, but it's like, purple and it's got the, blueberries on the inside. Like that is fantastic, especially when it's like natural. And that's where my take on this cougar tail comes in. It was a very artificial blueberry flavor, and I didn't like it. Like it just felt like too much. The blueberry it kind of took over the flavor. That the maple bar, I just think it has kind of those more mellow tones, and it all kind of blends together. But the thing that hurts the most about the blueberry one is it looks way better. Like the royal just pops, but the flavor is just a little overwhelming, I feel like.
Okay.
I think that's fair.
Good to know. I really do want to try one. I was trying to figure out a way if I could.
My family, like my little brother loved it. And my cousin thought it was great. I thought it was too much.
Justin, I think that just means we're gonna have to go next year.
I think
you have to come check it out.
Twist my arm, have to go back to pro again.
It was written in the cards, like it was going to happen anyways, regardless. So we will be trying the blueberry cougar tail along with yet another cougar tail. That was fantastic when we were there. I will say now the second part of my question. I'm going to throw it out there. I would imagine you probably haven't had Skyline chili before.
I haven't. It looks good though.
Okay, so here's my question. What is more infamous, Skyline chili or the cougar tail?
Well, I don't think the cougar tail is infamous. I think it's pretty popular. I think Skyline chili is more infamous.
Here, I'll find you something infamous with the cougar tail though. How does that sound? So the Skyline chili, every time the Cincinnati game comes up, there's obviously somebody, some BYU fan or whoever that mentions, something about it, right? The cougar tail is really good. There was a point in time last year, and if there's any BYU fans listening to this, I'm not throwing shade. I just want to preface that. There was a kid at one of the football games that he got onto the Jumbotron and he just like some fan bases chug beer. Like this kid pounded the cougar tail, right? And everyone kind of cheered him on, and it was for that moment we were like, oh, okay, that was a little disturbing, but it was cool, right? But for the next 3 games, whether it was basketball or football, they kept finding this kid, right? And he became the cougar tail kid. And after a while, it's just I don't know if I can keep cheering for this, whether if it's the diabetes or the precedent that we're setting, that's. So for me, I think in my mind, the cougar tail kid is far more infamous than Skyline chili, because Skyline chili, at least it seems like it has some health benefit to it, right?
No. There's no health benefits. They recently released a chicken version of the chili, which they will tell you there's more protein in it, so therefore it might be a little healthier. It tastes the exact same. I really did not notice much of a difference. However, I guess it has more health benefits. But I will say, in context with what you're saying, it has been seen more than once where Bearcats fans have shotgun Skyline chili. I have done it myself, not on a big screen, but it does happen, and it's lovely in a sense of a Cincinnati, just true Cincinnatian, but it is terrible as a human being and as an experience.
I just feel like I need to see Travis or Jason Kelsey do that.
Yeah,
that just feels right. You know what I mean? Yeah. I would even remove Travis, Jason Kelsey with the beard, and that would just be. I think that would be one of those things where I'm like, oh, the 8th wonder of the world, right there.
Yeah,
yeah. But I kind of wonder too if it's when I was living in Arizona, Kroger owns all of the different subsidiaries across the country, and so Fry's for Arizona, and then I believe it's Smith's for Utah. I wonder if it's on the shelves at Smith's as well, because it was always on the shelves at Fry's. So because I think like they at least ship Skyline, and then we also have a local ice cream, which if BYU fans who are traveling here don't want to try the Skyline chili
Good plug,
itself,
Steve.
there is a Skyline chili ice cream that you can try that just tastes like Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and it is really good. So, if for anybody who's traveling to the game, welcome. We'd love to have you here, and try if we would love for you to try the chili, but if you don't want to take that step, definitely try the ice cream. It's quite good.
Hey, I will personally check my Smiths, and if I find something, I'll tag you.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Sounds great. Love it.
Awesome. Well, Trevor, it was absolutely fantastic having you on the show. As a fellow BYU enjoyer,
I enjoyed it as well.
Much more deeply ingrained in this guy than the rest of us over here. But again, it was fantastic having you on the show this week. We really appreciate it. Please, by all means, plug anything that you want to. And then we're going to go ahead and do some recaps on basketball.
Yeah, honestly, appreciate being on Hype Train podcast. If anybody wants to hear three guys, be dorks for an hour and talk about BYU sports, then boy, do I have a podcast for you.
Love it. Awesome. Thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir. You have a good one.
You too.
Yeah, you too, man. Oh, Steve, there he is. Okay. He disappeared there for a second. Well, that was fun.
I disappeared on my own for a second.
He's like, you know what? I'm out too. You're riding solo.
Yeah. See you.
So yeah, very fun to have Trevor on. Appreciate the Hype Train boys. Good group over there. Definitely check out the show. For those of you who are interested, I'm sure, again, like you said, they're literally going to be recording a podcast just in a few minutes from now to finish up for their show. So check out their stream, give them some love, and go follow them on Twitter if you don't already, because it's good stuff. Steve,
real quick, Justin.
Yes.
I mentioned this with Trevor, but just wanted to mention it real quick before we move on to basketball. So I did pull that data, and I can put this up tomorrow as a tweet. But so I took the end of season SP Plus from 2024, and I took this week's SP Plus numbers for the teams that we've played so far this year.
Yep.
And I mentioned that with Trevor, but so when we play a team that is an average top 40 overall or higher, top 40 of SP Plus, like I mentioned, we are 1-7, and those teams are usually beating us by a margin of victory of 11 points. Do you know what the one win was?
This is how far does this go back?
Last year. I'm not counting 2023 because it didn't matter who we were playing.
No, it didn't. Great win over
Houston.
Houston. Yeah, Houston was solid.
And Pitt. By the way, this is only Power 4 teams. I did not include Group of 5 or FCS, those 4 games. It's only the 18 games we played so far against Group of 5 teams. Or sorry, P4 teams.
I'm gonna say Arizona State from last year.
You got it exactly.
Right? Really?
Yeah.
I was like, who was the best team that we beat last year? That would have been them, because nobody else this year was great.
Do you remember kind of why we won that game, despite Arizona State probably being a better team than us?
Because they didn't have a kicker.
Correct. Yes. So, if they had a kicker, make 4 of those 5 kicks they missed, you might be staring at an 0-8 against top 40 teams. And so not great. So for top 40 defense, when we're facing a top 40 defense, it does drop down to 1-6 because one of the teams that we faced who was top 40 that was not a top 40 defense was Colorado last year. But it's still 1-6, which is just, I don't know. It's just going to be tough for me to see us winning this game, just because, unfortunately, last year and this year we've seen us, kind of not be as competitive with teams that are better than us. And by the way, just for wins and losses, so there's 18 games in this data set of Power 4 teams. The average SP Plus rating for all of Cincinnati's Power 4 wins from this year and last year. Are you gonna say over?
Okay.
Just pick it up.
Okay. I'll guess. This is the average Cincinnati SP Plus.
No. The average opponent SP Plus for all of our wins. Eight wins over Power 4 teams of the last 2 years.
75.
Close, 67. And then we have 10 losses against Power 4 teams over this season and last season. Average overall SP plus rating for those?
Guess it's not going to make us feel any better. It's going to be like 60.
No, 35. So
okay, so actually, that's high. That's good. That is good.
Yeah, but it's just it's a little bit unfortunate when it's a very clear, okay, you're in the middle of these two, and
Right.
you've only won one game against that top half, and it was a home game where the other team missed 5 field goals. So I don't want to be the negative guy. I'm just trying to present data as a way to show that, like, hey, this might be a little bit tough for us this weekend. And I think we always knew it was going to be tough, but I do think that BYU has put themselves in some adverse situations in road games, this year in all their conference road games. So we'll see if maybe that can come back to haunt them again on Saturday. But I'm ready to find out.
That's a great point. I would like to add to this too, just more of what you're saying. If you look at the current, as this point in time, I guess I don't even know where we're at anymore, 12 technically of the season, 11. If you look at where these teams stack up in the Big 12, Cincinnati's only win against the best win that they have right now sits at Iowa State, who's 3-4. Everybody else is below that threshold. Arizona, of course, beat the Bearcats. They're 4-3. Everybody else north of that, that's Texas Tech, BYU, Utah, Houston, Arizona State. We've only played Utah. We literally could not have gotten a better slate for that midsection of the season than we ended up getting. And to add to your point, to not sound negative, it definitely is going to be one of those things I think we're going to look at the end of the season and just say, well, it was a really nice run. We did show some improvement. We were able to string some games together and get some wins in some adverse situations there. But when you don't have wins over anybody in the top half of the conference, it's kind of hard to feel good about that.
Yep.
And that's not our fault. That's not our fault. You get the schedule that you were given, and the teams perform the way they are. We all thought Iowa State would be a much better team than they are, but here we are.
Well, and then that was what I was going to say. Iowa State is number 41 this week in SP Plus, so literally right on the cut line there.
Yeah, right on the cut line. Well, Steve, we've talked 42 minutes of football and some BYU stuff, which is fun, but we also have a very important game for the Bearcats this week as they take on the mighty number 6 Louisville Cardinals.
Louisville.
I think we're all just hoping that this team does not piss down its leg in this game. It will, of course, be a home game for the Bearcats. As all things stand, they're 4-0. But for any of us who watched the Mount St. Mary's game, I don't think they were really making anybody feel better about how this Louisville game is going to go. They did, kind of have a solid second half comeback. They're a very consistent team right now, I will say, for the Bearcats, but they have not played anywhere close to this level of competition thus far. Just as a quick note, the first game against Western Carolina, interesting little data set that we have here, 94-63. The opponent scores for the Bearcats' first 4 games, 63, 64, 62, and 55. That's pretty consistent. Defense is holding up generally pretty well. Not allowing any more than 65 points, I think, is good. Especially, it's not a high level of competition, but it's good. And Georgia State, so from what we've seen, can hang around with some teams, some power conference teams. On the other hand, Bearcats scored 94 in that opener. They've scored 74, 74, and 72 since. I think the offense just has not been able to kick it into high gear against some of these teams that they absolutely should. Again, the Mount St. Mary's game, the Bearcats were trailing at the half by, I think, 6 or 7. Not a great look. Not a great look overall. But this game, again, we're just hoping that they don't get creamed because this Louisville team looks legit. They look like at the very least, an Elite 8 team, if not Final Four, looking at it. And this is one of those things that I'm going to say this till the end of time. We've said this about Scott Satterfield, and we're going to say it about Wes Miller, and we're going to say about all the hiring cycles around us. Pat Kelsey, oh my God, he was right there. He's just right there. And he goes to a program like Louisville, and look how fast this has happened. Like, again,
Well,
we're early in the season. There's a lot of time for Louisville to fall apart, but this team is legit.
do you think we would have hired him with his Xavier ties?
Cincinnati, man.
I understand. I'm just telling you that's why maybe they didn't think about him just because of that Xavier tie.
Yeah, I don't know, man. All I know is that timing sucks for hirings, and here we are, and we are hoping that everything works out. And this is just where the Bearcats are. We have what we have, and we're gonna work with it. But I have not thus far been impressed.
Just a quick story on Mr. Kelsey. So on the west side, Justin, you remember improved basketball camps from back in the day?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So you remember that obviously Walt Kelsey and Paul Cluxton,
Mhm.
elder guys, used to run the show there. I don't really know if they're still doing them now. Honestly, have not kept up. I wouldn't be keeping up with grade school basketball camps, so who knows?
Shame on you, Steve.
I know, right? I still have a Wake Forest basketball from Pat Kelsey at my parents' house when he was an assistant coach with the Deeks back in the day. But there was a clip of him recently, just talking about Mikael Brown and how he recruits players to Louisville to hoop instead of just go and play a basketball. Like he wants them to hoop. And I know that got shared in a couple different group chats. And I think the funny thing to me was that people were clowning on him, but that was the thing. I was like, no, I've heard him say stuff like that before. He's kind of got so there's, Justin, it's a very acute Cincinnati accent that Pat Kelsey has, but he's kind of got it a little bit.
Yeah.
He's kind of got a little bit of a way of talking about him that I think only the most acute of Cincinnatians would be able to. I mean, obviously we know he's from there, but
right.
even people who are from here, they can't. You might not be able to just hear it. And I know the guy obviously, but now here's a thought for you, Justin. Is he going to be concerned with the basketball game happening right in front of him, or is he going to have an iPad or a coach on the sideline telling him score updates of the game right down the road as his and my Elder Panthers are taking on St. Xavier now at Paycor Stadium this Friday? Literally an hour after tip time. Maybe he'll just go into halftime and just watch the kickoff real quick. Obviously not really, but I am kind of interested though if he's going to be thinking about that. Just a little bit.
I love the fact that you brought this up. We should circle back to this. We will circle back.
We'll
circle back to this after we cover basketball, because that is a good point. And I do actually want to give a little bit of flowers to Cincinnati high school football right now because it's looking a lot of fun. Yeah. But yes, I mean, probably he will do that. Here's my thing with this, Steve. Again, the Bearcats started off 4-0. Louisville started off 4-0. Bearcats, their best win, of course, is Dayton. And it was a decent enough game. They did what we asked. They took care of business. Louisville, on the other hand, managed to beat number 9 Kentucky. So you got a rivalry game early. Again, for same sense of comparison, this is playing the shootout in week 3, and against a team that is not just absolutely in the bowels of college basketball right now. We will get to more of that on Xavier eggs as the time comes. But Kentucky's obviously ready to go. This team looks very good. Mark Pope's got them in a great spot, and Louisville found a way to win that game. Of course, it helps that it's at home for them, of course. But, if you want to play the numbers game and compare that, South Carolina State, Jackson State, Ohio, Louisville scored 104, 106, and 106. They let up 45 in that first game, 70 and 81 against those other teams. And then against Kentucky, a very good team, it was 96 to 88. Balls to the walls offense. I look at this game and I don't see, quite honestly, it's the same thing that we're going to say about football, that we've said about football. I just don't see how they keep pace. This is a team that I think is just going to be scoring lights out. I think defensively, this will be the best team that Louisville has faced thus far in the Bearcats, but I just don't see how we're going to be able to keep pace with this team because they are very, very talented offensively. And that's just one of those things that you can't really this team has it, but I don't know, quite honestly, with where we're at, if we have the depth that Louisville has, and if we're going to be able to compete at that same level. For comparison, Louisville there on 3-point line is shooting 36.4%. They're from the field as a team, they're 50% on the dot. That's pretty efficient basketball. There's a reason that they're scoring as high as they are, because they're just taking care of the ball. And they're averaging 11 turnovers a game. That's a formula for them that I think is going to lead to some success. And when you look at the Bearcats in comparison to that, 29.9% from the 3-point line, 16 turnovers against the competition that we've played thus far, and 44% from the field. I think just everything stacks up for the Bearcats. Quite honestly, just hoping we can keep it within 15.
Yeah. Well, so like you mentioned, we do have a good defense. We're number 2 on KenPom in defense. We're going to be tested on Friday night. Louisville's got the number 2 KenPom offense, so that will be fun to have that matchup. Hopefully that holds going into the day. I think that'll be a nice little nugget to tweet out on Friday. But the inverse, though, of that, Louisville has the number 52 defense, while UC currently has the number 135th rated offense in the country.
Yeah.
Not great, Bob. And so the other thing is that Louisville loves to create turnovers, and Cincinnati recently, we've just been giving the ball away, like left and right. I mean, it was 24 turnovers against Dayton. I think they won. Dan Hort even mentioned it, 25th at the end of the game, but I think the home score was a little nice to Kirk Risa and didn't add it on there. But you see the formula where UC probably has to, where UC can win this game and play well in this game. I don't know if they will, but they have to, 1, make their threes, 2, obviously make their free throws, and 3, really limit turnovers as much as they can. And that number 2 defense is really going to have to step up and play well against these guys, or else Mikael Brown's just going to drop 30, and we're just going to be looking like, what the heck happened? So I think also it's just, I don't know if you've seen like any of like the ticket sales or anything from this game, but it's just like, it's hard, man, because obviously I feel like people like in general should be excited, and we've gotten yelled at from the old people and the student section people for our basketball crowd takes. So I'm not yelling at anybody. I was excited. I was interested in going to this game, but I was like, I don't know if I want to pay like $60 for a top row seat at Heritage Bank, and just,
it's just a terrible experience in that arena regardless.
Yeah. So I don't know. I do like that, Cunningham's trying to get other ideas to like, get more NIL directly to the players. And I respect that. But I'm always going to be more for having these games on campus. Again, I get why they did the Dayton thing, but it's just setting up for another experience where we are like outnumbered in a building that's like 3.5 miles from campus, and it's just going to be like, well, or, even shorter, just downtown from campus. So, I'm already giving you that ammo, Louisville fans. Like if you find it, good for you. But I think I think they're all just high on the hog of Kentucky. Maybe they'll come in sleepwalking. Just.
I would love to imagine that. I just don't foresee it. It's
Pat Kelsey back in his hometown. Kelsey Chevrolet boys will be there, so I think he's going to make sure that these guys are ready to go. And also, though, I am glad that this rivalry is back. Justin, like it makes sure. And I think some of the things I'll want to post later this week is like some of the great games we played with Louisville, and like I think the hate will level up this week, but I got one in the hopper, Justin, for tomorrow morning. I was hoping that BYU would be a top 10 team, rated number 11, but you got number 6 Louisville coming to Cincinnati on Friday night, and you got number 11 BYU coming to Cincinnati on Saturday night, and you've got a Bearcats fan base that's just like,
yeah,
it's just like a little bit worried. So might have to have a few of these boys just ready to go, just in case. So
might have to have them ready. It's
on deck.
Yeah, I think again, one thing that I want to just leave off on this hoops talk on is this. I'm going to start with mine, and then I'm going to throw it to you. What do you think would make you feel good about the result of this game if it were a loss? So let's just assume the worst in this game, that the Bearcats probably going to lose. If they win, I think this will change the perception of a lot of things. And that, quite honestly, this would be easily the most signature win that Pat Kelsey has had. Or sorry, that Pat Kelsey has had, that Wes Miller has had thus far as the Bearcats head coach. I don't think he has won against any top 10 team. Correct me if I'm wrong. And so I think in this,
I don't remember what Illinois was ranked, but another neutral site win. I'm sure everybody would love that,
Yeah, I want to say Illinois was like 14 or 17, something like. But regardless, it would be a signature win for Wes if he can pull it off. I just don't know if the X's and O's are there this week for it to happen, and if the team is ready yet for this game. But again, I think for me, what will make me feel good about this performance is if you can do three things. It's not the classic three, which we will bring up, because if they manage to do the classic three, Steve, you know what I'm talking about. A little dartboard action here. Then we're really I'm feeling really good about this team. If they can manage to just shoot 30% from the floor, it'll show that you're at least efficient. You're sorry, not 30% from the floor, 30% from the three, 30% from the floor. Please don't do that. That would be horrible. 30% from the three.
Hopefully a little better too from three.
Yes. From the free throw line, if you can take advantage of the chances that you have, I think the Bearcats are solid enough in the paint. I think they should be able to get some opportunities there. Take care of the ball. If you have 10 free throws, make 8 of them. Don't be just tossing it around. And then I think the other thing too is, again, we talked about the Bearcats defense. I'm not really concerned about how many points the Bearcats will be putting up. I'm concerned about how many they're going to let up. And again, thus far, the Bearcats have done a really solid job defensively. They've held every team under 65. Can you hold Louisville under 70? If you can hold Louisville under 70, I think that would just be an incredible performance defensively. Even if Louisville has a bad night, they're making at least 80 points up on the board. So if you can hold them under 70 or at 70, even 72, I think I feel really good about where this defense is headed, at least. But you never know. Maybe they get hot. Maybe the environment's good, and maybe the Bearcats can shoot and light it up. But I think defensively, if you hold them, it's going to show that this team can at least compete when you get to the Big 12 level this season.
I'm like hoping for the best, but expecting the worst. It's kind of that situation. But you asked what would like be worst case scenario, Justin. I think it's just if playing a team like this just like exposes all of the same problems that UC had against the top competition last year before you even get into Big 12 play. I would hope that maybe it helps you, but your team's already set, and we kind of saw last year that they had led up to it, and then even like losing at Villanova, you were like, so I don't know.
It's not Jay Wright's Villanova, by the way.
Yeah, you lost to a coach who later got fired. So it was just frustrating, man. Like I think everybody wants basketball to be better than they are, and I think this game doesn't have to mean a lot. Like if you want to follow my thoughts from a couple pods ago and just say, enjoy like the individual player performances and then come back to the team like in January, and just let the non-conference record be what it may. I will add the caveat that if you lose the Xavier game, then the record starts to matter to me. But other than that, just we'll figure that out once we get to January and February. But I think if you want to be positive about this game, even if you think that we might lose, just like I think the best thing you want to see from this game is like an offense that is like consistently hitting its threes. They're able to get those open shots and hitting its threes, not committing turnovers, able to put easy buckets up. It's going to be hard to do against Louisville, obviously a very talented team. But if your defense is just going to hold teams under 70 every game, that's going to keep you in a lot of games. It's just that offense needs to come along too.
Yeah. I mean, that's the Houston formula, except they're just really efficient
much better at it than us.
They're just really good at that.
Yeah,
they're really good at that thing, and then they sometimes score a lot of points. But I don't know. That's always an interesting thing to watch. That must be tough to sweat out every game like that, even when you know that you're going to win. Steve, that is everything on hoops. It is time to move on to the Bearcats. Sorry, the Big 12 head-to-head. There's a little bit of some slight shifting in performances thus far. As far as basketball goes, it is going to be interesting to see how these teams stack up. Currently, the West Virginia Mountaineers have the most amount of wins, but they're also just a game ahead of everybody, so that's fine. My TCU hopeful just we're gonna see how that goes. It's just not looking so hot right now.
Yeah, not less than ideal, but hey, they had a chance against Michigan, as seemingly everybody has had a chance against Michigan in the first couple weeks here.
They had a chance against the number 6 team in the country.
Yep. Most fraudulent top 10 team in the country?
Yes.
I don't know. Yes. I will say, Justin, obviously we mentioned Houston get the win against Auburn on Sunday. Shout out to our guy Ryan. Dude, Arizona, like they look good, man. I watched them play against UCLA on Friday night in the Bill Walton tribute, at the Intuit Dome. Man, they looked like they were able to come back from a small deficit in the second half without Pete playing very well. And if they can just do that for 30 more games, they're going to be a tough out. And I think they're just going to enjoy being in the Big 12 because they're going to consistently have tough games, and that's just going to make them even more ready for March as they continue to add on more seasons in the Big 12. Obviously, not many people stay year after year, but I think being in that environment as to what they were in the Pac-12 for a basketball sense is going to help them immensely.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and I think from what we've seen thus far, I think the Big 12 has performed really good against other top level competition. I mean, it's a good start for the conference in a way that I think last year they kind of stumbled a little bit. And that, again, I think a lot of this does actually dictate how these conferences are perceived for the rest of the year. It's, of course, the SEC is going to get bias even in basketball now, too, because they have to have everything. They just can't have football. They got to take everything else away from us. But, some of these teams getting wins over even UCF. UCF got a win over Texas A&M, which is great. I think from that perspective, like just winning the games against these other power conferences, hopefully it's one of those things that once you get to March, it helps the Big 12 get one more pick in there for, the tournament. I think I'd say comfortably right now, it's probably 7, and then maybe you get 8. And then depending on how we perform against the rest of these teams, if Cincinnati were to do something like beat Louisville this week, maybe that helps propel, hey, the Big 12 is really good. And they beat some ACC teams. They beat some SEC teams. They beat some Big 10 teams. Maybe they're good enough. Maybe we get 8 or 9 in.
I mean, even UCF's helping out. They beat Texas A&M. Maybe Texas A&M is just not going to be that good, but Big 12 over SEC, chalk one up. Texas Tech not helping us out. Obviously, TCU not helping us out either. But, I mean, rest of the leagues look solid so far. And obviously, Kansas is playing tonight. Don't know what the score is there, but obviously Darren Peterson is not playing.
Shout out to Oklahoma State, who also beat Texas Tech. Texas A&M 2-2.
Yeah,
2-2, but they got back-to-back L's against the Big 12.
Yep, that's right. Maybe they shouldn't have left the Big 12 back in the day, but maybe we wouldn't be in it either way. Real quick on football, Justin. While we were recording, the college football playoff rankings did come out. Texas Tech jumps into the top 5. They are number 5, and then we've got BYU at 11, Utah at 12, and then some love for Houston, Justin. How about this? Houston is the number 23 team in the college football playoff. Tulane at number 24, and our boys at Arizona State at number 25. So 5 teams in the Big 12 that are in the college football playoff top 25. I'm good with it. I like it. And I think the problem is, how are we going to get either BYU or Utah over the line, into that at-large space? I mean, maybe we'll just have to do some bid stealing on conference championship weekend, and BYU beats Texas Tech, and so we're like, 2 bids. But I don't know, man. I said this on Clint's show, so I'll bring it here. If if Utah just keeps beating teams by 30 points, I think the committee's really going to like their strength of record and strength of how much they beat teams by. So like if maybe Utah sneaks in as that last at large bid, but Miami is sneaking up behind Utah. So I kind of wonder if Notre Dame and Miami end of the year at the same record, that Miami would jump back in somehow. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean that's a great point. I think it is interesting. I just want to throw this out there because as a perennial Utah hater, they actually have looked really impressive this season. They have one, two, three, 4, 5 games where they have just absolutely obliterated the other team. Not counting the game against Cal Poly, which would make 6, and technically Wyoming 7 because it was 31-6. 43-10, 63-9, 31-6, 48-14, 42-10, 53-7, 45-14, and 55-28. Like they are beating the crap out of teams that are not named BYU and Texas Tech. And unfortunately the Bearcats are one of those. But yeah, I mean, I think as much as I don't like Utah, and I don't like Utah's just disdain for being in the Big 12. If it helps this conference get a little bit better of a rep, throw them in there. And I quite honestly think they would perform really well against some of these other teams. And at this point, I'm really just of the mindset that we need at least at the bare minimum one team in the quarterfinal. But if we can get 3 teams, if we can get 3 teams in the first round, get at least one team to the quarterfinal, maybe wreck some stuff and get 2 teams in the quarterfinal, that'd be really nice. And maybe get one to the semis. I don't know if any team from the Big 12 is going to be going to the national championship except maybe a Texas Tech, but I could see at least one in the semifinal fairly comfortably. I think they have enough to do it, but you're probably going to have to get through OSU. I think right now it's OSU, Indiana, A&M, and Georgia. I think you can beat at least one of those teams. And I think if A&M somehow sticks around, I would love to get a Big 12 team matched up against them because I think they will get belt to ass. Quite honestly, yeah. I think I would take Utah against Texas A&M right now.
They
might be the best bet.
That would Utah be a stalker of a game. I tell you what,
Tech would be the best option as a football enjoyer. You want to see a team like Tech beat a team like A&M on that stage. That'll replace the Texas Tech Texas game in just level of aura that happens.
Yep. Well, and then the other thing too is like just imagining like Texas gets left out of the playoff. Texas Tech, hosts a game. So, and then Texas Tech, wins a game. Texas A&M, loses a game. I'm just imagining like as much sorrow as possible for Texas fans. So I would love that.
Yeah, I'm curious as a closing point here on this. Do you like or dislike the? I mean, I guess it doesn't really help us as Big 12 fans, but do you like or dislike the quarterfinals in the first round bye, being just top 4 seeding?
No, I don't like it. The point obviously the point was for 5 conferences and then the best 4 conference champions, but in a world that's just all Big 12 and SEC, we need more of these other conferences and
Big 10 and SEC. Yes.
Yeah. Well, you heard what I said.
Yeah.
Big 12's got a better record. We got to fight against the SEC. But I think like if Texas Tech were to win a game that in the playoff this year, that would be huge for just the league's reputation as a whole. And obviously, Texas Tech is a little bit of a different case, but if it just causes one more booster in this league to be like, you know what, F this. I will. Yeah. Obviously, you can't do what Cody Campbell did, but if you figure out your ways, it seems like it's a soft cap right now. So if we get just more money into Big 12 football, man, like that helps everybody in this league. Everybody eats. Rising tide lifts all boats. So I think like it was always funny back in the AAC days. Like, I don't think we were really rooting for UCF to win, back in the days, but like it was always fun when like the conference would seemingly come together for one day, and not in a SEC chant type of way. Like come together for one day, because we got to fight back against the people. So fight back against the powers.
Yes. Oh, there's only so much we can do, Steve.
Yep.
And unfortunately, because of the way football is, we can't boycott. We can't boycott the. It's like, you know what? I'm tired of the college football playoff being rigged for all these SEC and Big Ten teams. I'm just not going to watch it. Everybody, let's not watch it. And then, what? 1 million Big 12 people will not watch it, and then nothing will be done.
Yep.
Because there will still be 20 million SEC people watching it. I will say, as my absolute closing point on this, and then we will move on to the Bearcats Sports Wrapup. I played disc golf with a friend this weekend. He's from Tennessee, local here, big Bulls fan. I hadn't really talked to him much about college football before because we just sling disc. That's what we do.
You sling what?
Disc. Yes. Yeah, I know. See, it's fun to say. Anyways, we're just sitting, chilling. I asked him oh yeah, what do you know about Cincinnati? What do you think of it? He's like, oh, I don't know what conference they're in, but I know that they're, they've been doing pretty good this year. And I was like, oh yeah, we're in the Big 12. He's like, oh yeah, the Big 12. He's like, it's all right. I was like, but he's like, if you live down here, you kind of learn a thing that there really is no football. There's no NFL football. There's no football that's not SEC football. He's like, everything, every week is you live and die by SEC. And the more that I've talked to people that live down here in Nashville, in Tennessee specifically, I get that notion that they actually don't know that other football exists outside of their conference. And I see why this, not why, but how this happens.
Just
it's
silly.
Sad. It's sad.
Just I feel like we are people that watch the whole game, or all the teams, and
All
it's just
football.
yeah, it's just frustrating to that. Oh yeah, your little league down there. That's nice. Come on, man. I don't know. I do think that SEC fans just like the SEC and they don't like college football. I will say that.
That is true. Yep. Big brand supporters. They love their brand.
Love Steve, the brand, brother.
We're an hour and 12 minutes in here. Let's wrap this thing up in only the way that the Bearcats.
What? Can. You don't want to keep going? No, let's wrap it up. I'm good with it.
All right. We have a Big 12 sports wrap-up.
That indeed we do. I'm just pulling up. Okay. Yes, I am ready when you are, Justin. Lead me in, baby.
3, 2, 1. Kicking it over to you, Steve. Give us that Bearcat Sports Wrap-Up.
Hot, stanky, and dirty. It's that Bearcat Sports Wrap-Up ready to roll. Cincinnati volleyball got 2 dubs last week. A sweep against UCF at home. Always love to see that. And a win in 5 against Texas Tech last Friday in Lubbock. So shout out to volleyball. They had their final 2 home matches of the season this week against Iowa State and Colorado on Wednesday and Friday, respectively. 2 ranked teams. So go out and see some high-level volleyball this week.
More ranked games. Just keep
all for it. Big 12, keep ranking us in everything. Rank all the Big 12 teams. I don't care. Big 12 bias. Women's basketball, they defeated D2 Georgetown College this past Sunday, 100-61, their first win of the season. Shout out to them. It's been a tough start for them, but always good to get that first one off the list, and hopefully that will give them some more confidence as they visit Ball State this Thursday before hosting Canisius this upcoming Sunday. Cross country, Justin, we are the only Bearcats podcast. I'll say it. I don't care. I don't even know if there's anybody else that's talking about this. We are the only Bearcats podcast that is talking about our cross-country team, and we've got 1 woman and 1 man Bearcat that are both going to be competing in the NCAA National Cross-Country National Championships this soon, and it's Ann Lamaricio and our guy Nixon Kogi. Ann Lamaricio is a freshman from Ngong Hills, Kenya, the first women's qualifier for the national championships in program history after finishing 4th at the Great Lakes Regional last weekend. And Nixon Kogi, a sophomore from Eldoret, Kenya, is the 3rd Bearcat to win the Great Lakes Regional title. Kogi has also won he won that event. He's also won 4 of the 5 events in which he competed this year. Not too shabby, with the exception being 8th at the loaded Big 12 championships to still claim podium honors. So shout out to these two. This is just like so special that like they get to compete in this, and it's coming up this Saturday. The women's race, it's going to be in Columbia, Missouri this weekend. It's going to be streamed live on ESPNU. Women's race at 10:20 and the men's race at 11:10. So if you need something to pregame and got the big screen on, big noon kickoff, of course, all 2 hours, pop your phone on, put on ESPNU, and watch our Bearcats compete for a national title. So just cool, man. Like I think I joke, but I'm kind of serious. I think we're the only people that are really following cross country, and they've been awesome this year. So I'm really happy for them. And so finally, we are going to get to our friends at the hockey team. And so the men's hockey team, I believe that they went to they played a home and home last week. I don't believe, I know they did. They played a home and home last week against Kentucky, and they did unfortunately drop the Friday game against Kentucky. And I'm looking for the Thursday game right now as we speak. And I'm not getting anything. Okay, well, I thought they would have. I don't know. Well, we'll get that to you, but I think they unfortunately did drop one of those games to Kentucky. So, but that's the end of the fall semester for the Club Hockey Cats. Shout out to them. Hopefully, get to see them play them a little bit more in the spring semester. We don't have winter semesters anymore. Quarter system is gone long ago. And finally, Justin, it's a Bearcat Sports Wrap-Up, but we can include the local high school football that is being played on Friday night. Game that was originally scheduled to be played at Mason's Atrium Stadium, which is actually at their middle school, not their high school. Weird, I know. I don't ask, but the powers that be in the Hamilton County and the Bengals did come together to move this game between Elder Panthers and St. Xavier Bombers. We have an alum of this podcast, Donnie, who is a St. X alum and will be pulling against my Elder Panthers this upcoming Friday. But it's cool, man, that they're going to play it at Paycor. This was so back in the day when Paul Brown first opened, they were hosting high school games there, and that was technically the first official football game at Paul Brown was an Elder game that had like 40,000 people there. And like there was a Elder St. X doubleheader like that day. And then Elder played a couple, and I think St. X did too, like played a couple playoff games there back in the day, but it's been like a while since any playoff games have been played there. And so shout out to them. It's going to be a madhouse on the banks on Friday night. Obviously you got the basketball game at US Bank Heritage Bank Center, and then you've got the high school football regional championship for Division I at Paycor. So the banks are going to be bumping a little bit even more than usual for a Friday night in November. So that should be a lot of fun. That's why I was saying, like, maybe Pat Kelsey just has a wandering eye and then loses his focus. But if you're interested, seems like it might be unfortunately a little bit rainy on Friday night, so it might just be a double screen night for your boy.
I would not be surprised if Pat Kelsey found his way just about a mile down there. Not even. What is that like? That's probably like a half mile, 3/4.
I don't know. Yeah,
it might not even be that far.
Yeah, I'll look.
We'll find that out. We'll learn that. We'll figure out how far the distance between Heritage Bank Arena and Paycor is. We could just say like US Bank Arena and Paul Brown Stadium. Like that. I mean, that would just really just put them two and two together. But regardless, again, it is awesome to actually have both of these.
Half mile, by the way.
Half mile. Okay. So it wasn't too bad from the first start. It is awesome to have both of these teams playing in the 275 loop because again, like it's Cincinnati high school football. You have two of these teams. Like, why would they go up to Mason to play this game when they're both right here? And quite honestly, all of these people are going to be showing up for this game for between both fan bases that do generally show out for high school football. I wouldn't be surprised if they could put another 40K in that stadium. I think that would be awesome. I think they could at least fill the lower bowl without too much issue. It depends on how much you get into the upper decks, but I think that would be really nice. It's a shame that a game like that can't happen at Nippert anymore because of the the way the college football ruling is now, and however that works, that you just can't play high school games in college stadiums now. I don't know. It's stupid, but I remember playing or having the good old Coleraine Cardinals playing in Nippert Stadium. I believe that was my freshman or sophomore year, and the bleacher got ripped off, and that was the end of that. Like we were not allowed to come back, and that was one of the good experiences there as a high schooler. However, Steve, because we've said it for everything else for football, I would love the Meteor for this game, but for you as an Elder fan, how do you see this game panning out?
Man, so if our followers didn't know, last weekend Elder hosted their, I guess it was a third round game. Now that we got buys, but an absolutely insane game against Princeton.
Nuts.
Princeton was leading 23-0 in the middle of the third quarter. Elder rips off 3 straight touchdowns to tie the game. They have a field goal set up to win the game with like less than 2 minutes to go, gets blocked, ran back for a touchdown. They then score on their first offensive play after getting the ball back from the kickoff, miss the 2-point conversion, get an onside kick somehow, go down, kick a field goal, and then the broadcast made it sound like it was another intentional onside kick, but the way that Princeton was lined up, the kicker kind of just like lowballed it, and it just bounced off of the back of one of the frontline guys' pads, and like Elder recovered it. So that was how that game ended. But it absolutely, you don't see 2, not let alone 1 successful onside kick in a game anymore. So shout out to Elder. It was an awesome game to follow, and man, it's going to be a tough one this week. St. X always plays well near the end of the year. Elder is undefeated, but it would be so fitting for St. X to come in and end our season. But I can't say that. Come on, you know what it is. Elder Panthers rolling all the way to state, taking the regional championship this weekend. I'm going to say they win. I'm going to say it's like a 24-20 type of game. It's going to be a close game. It always is with these GCL South teams. But under the bright lights at Paycor Stadium, Elder rocking the purple, they'll get it done.
It will be a scene. It will be a scene indeed. One that
St. X had to travel all the way up to Dayton last week, and just take that hour-long bus ride back. I wonder how that really affects their body clocks.
Yeah, the body clock and the 275 loop. When you get outside of it, it just kind of gets a little funky, man. Like things get really weird. Yeah, it's the science. It's the science of things. I can't really explain it. Steve, good talking to you, buddy. This has been Viva La Cats. Of course, as we have mentioned earlier in the show, part of the 1012 Network. Make sure to check out the 1012 Network on Twitter, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, plenty of different platforms that you can find the whole network, including ourselves, on. And as well, check out the Hype Train podcast. Give those guys some love. We won't be big fans of them this week, but we are always big fans of the Hype Train. They're a good group over there. So thank you for listening this week. If you made it this far, we really appreciate it. I'm amazed if you have, because we just love to talk. That's our favorite thing to do around here. Steve and I, we're gonna hope that everything goes just okay. Like as a whole for Bearcats sports, if we could go 1-1 this week somewhere, that would be great. I'm expecting to get flattened in both, but if we could go 1-1, that'd be great. I'll take it. All that said, have a great week. Bearcats get some dubs. Be safe. Viva La Cats. Okay, so about that blueberry cougar tail.
Yeah, it's like,
how do we get a hold of one of those?